welcome to a new edition of our show, Money Means Business. And as we always say, in business means money. Stability and business mean a lot of money. I'm Nermeen Nazim, live from Cairo, the microcosm of the whole universe, and Egypt. We're coming to you live talking about money and business, what's going on in Egypt nowadays, of course, related to the world. From the mother of the world. And we have with us here Dr. Mahmoud Al-Abbasi, Professor of Business Administration. Welcome, sir, with us here. We do have also Dr. Abbas Zohari with us here, and this is not the first time, sir. Welcome again.
Pleasure. Thank you.
We'll be talking about a myriad of subjects, actually, all interrelated, but just after the break. Stay tuned to us, don't go away. We're coming to you in a moment.
Egypt has uniquely undergone two revolutions in less than 3 years for better living and the rule of democracy. Egypt remains, after all, as an attractive investment destination despite the difficulties it faced. Ahead of the 2011 revolution, the Egyptian economy was performing well, as confirmed by all KPIs.
We feel very confident about the Egyptian market. The main factors or the main pillars of the Egyptian economy are still here, and they're not going anywhere.
Egypt is a good place to invest, first of all, because it's a big market. It's a big local market. It's a good geographical location. You have good people, and the costs are competitive. So it's a great place. It was, it is, and it will be a great place to invest.
Welcome back again to Money Means Business. Our guest, Dr. Abbas Zohari. Welcome again, sir. And Dr. Mahmoud Al-Abbasi, welcome again. Well, there is a lot actually to talk about, you know, so how about Dr. Abbas, well, what would you like to start with? The economic actually sphere is very big. The happenings are just, you know, too many. We do have, you know, like the challenge to our development, the current situation. We've got the blocks that stand in our ways and ways to overcome that. We have, you know, also the issues of the World Bank loan. We have the issue of the currency, our currency floating. We do have, you know, price hiking. We do have the rumors, you know, spread by some trying to overturn everything and create chaos. So how about that? How would you like to start with?
Well, I would like to start with the floating and also with the currency exchange. We have been talking about it many times, but until today I didn't find any change. I have said before, if you would like to control the issue of the exchange, you have to do like Europe. You have to control the market. And I repeat it again, I have said that the market controls the central bank.
Yeah.
But it must be the opposite. The central bank must control the market, which is normal. By all means, all the exchange offices and company has been closed in the moment, which is correct. But we have to
But we do have a parallel
compromise.
market.
We have to compromise with, in each bank must be an exchange office, opening 24 hours.
Yes.
And you don't have to take a number and wait for 2 hours inside and to ask you where you get the money from. No, everyone has a right to go inside and exchange the money and go quickly, like goes to exchange offices. That's one. Second, I have said also before, a lot of Egyptian has a private foreign account,
Yes.
in dollar, in euro, which is not correct. And this kills the exchange in Egypt.
Yes.
What they have to do is, okay, if this, according to the law of the IMF, that it's freedom for everyone to have an account,
Yes.
it's perfect, it's good.
Okay.
All right, he can get the rent in the dollar, but in cashing, he can get Egyptian money and not the dollars. Because what they do, they have an account in the bank, and then they cash the money and then going to buy it, to sell it in the black market. And this is not good for Egypt.
Yes.
And the most important thing is that in each big bank, they have to make an exchange office in Cairo, in the provinces, in Alexandria, everywhere. They can exchange the money and then keep it for the central bank. That's one. Also, the transfer from abroad. This has to be controlled much better than now, because there is a network outside Egypt which they use people to go abroad and then ask every Egyptian who is living abroad, would you like to transfer money to your parents? Would you like to do that? So if the exchange is 10 pounds for $1, they give 12. So what you will do? You will say, okay,
Definitely.
definitely I will do. So
Okay.
this is our point. Second one, the IMF for the loan, which we have asked for it, it is not because we are poor. No, Egypt is not a poor country. Egypt is one of the richest country, but the money is with the Egyptian people and not with the government and not with the central bank.
Yeah.
But Egypt is a rich country.
Yes.
The IMF has some point and some issues to give you that. And what I'm afraid about is, and I hear a lot about it, and I know for sure that we are not ready for it. Our economy is not ready for floating. So my advice to the central bank and also for our president, please do not float the Egyptian pound in the moment, because this will make the standard of living for Egyptian as a hell. It will be very expensive. So please take care of that and try to do it in 5 years' time. I mean, it's normal. It's in every country, it's in everywhere in the world, but we are not ready for the floating in the moment. That's what I would like to give as an advice.
Okay, we'll talk more about that, but let me ask a question. Now, when you come from abroad, and then of course, you've got dollars, and the same thing, what would you, if you're someone, would you go to the bank and exchange this for the normal rate, or, you'll find 100 ones, ready to get?
Outside the room. Outside the change.
As a human, because we have to protect ourselves from ourselves.
Yes.
But you got to have rules.
Yeah.
First, you got to have rules in exchange. Normally, if somebody said to you, I'll give you for $1 15 pounds, which is going sky high and is going to reach 20 pounds, which is a shame, which is really a shame, you will do it. But I would like to make something better for Egyptian to change it at the bank.
Yeah.
So I have to forbid changing outside. How you will do that, we have said it many times, and we say how you can use it, but until now, there is none progress in it. I see that the foreign exchange going sky high.
Yeah.
The euro, it's 17.50, it's crazy. I remember when I was young, the first traveling to Holland, I changed 4 guilder for £1. 4. That means €2 was £1.
Yeah.
And now, €1 is about 17.50. I mean, outside. I mean, nobody recognizes the bank exchange money.
Yeah, because there are some who are ready to buy from you and then give you the money. So if you find more money...
This must stop. Make everything expensive, the import.
Yeah.
Second, if we would like to compromise with that, we have to decrease our import. We have to decrease our import. That's another point out of what we are talking about. But if we talk about the exchange, we have to decrease our import and then increase our export. That's two things to do.
Yeah.
Decrease the import, that means we will save a lot of foreign exchange money.
Yeah.
We don't have to buy it by dollar or by euro. We have a lot of resources in Egypt, in food.
Yeah, of course.
I said it before, we import 70% of our need from abroad, which is really a shame.
Yeah.
We have to
We have a land,
manufacture
manufacturers,
our food processing in Egypt
Yeah.
that we can decrease our import.
Yeah.
And we have to work in industry that we can increase our export. For example, one small example, the textile. Egypt is #1, the Egyptian cotton. Somebody said, no, that was before.
think
No,
it's-
still,
It's finished now.
still.
Yeah.
No, it's not finished, no.
Yeah.
I'm not...
We
I'm
talk
not-
about 30 years of...
I'm not, no. I'm not talking, I don't want to have
agriculture
any
going
negative energy in the subject because we do have it. We do have it.
It's another negative, but it's a truth. Yeah, like if you talk about cotton, especially, we're facing a lot of problem for planting
We
cotton.
need to rise to
Yeah.
glory again.
Yeah, we need to recalculate our.
Okay, did the Nile water changed? Do we have another kind of Nile water?
No, we have a lot
Still
of
the
water
same?
resources,
Do we have another
yeah.
soil of lands?
No, we don't have a lot of water resources. We only have the Nile with the seepage. You know, this is
I
what we
think
have. So, but
also
we have to
to-
make the best out.
Yeah, but we have groundwater. We
Groundwater
have
is from the seepage of the Nile. It's not of anything.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. No, but still we have water from the sea. We can analyze and we can make it.
Desalinate them, but that's
Desalinate,
expensive. You know, still like we can just make the best out of the resources that we have.
It's will this cost if we calculate and do it a study for that. I think water will be also it's a resource.
Yeah.
And resources when we do it like manufacturing, it's especially in agriculture. We are in the main point. We are an agriculture country, and this, like Doctor said, we have to eat from our side, from our land.
From our
Yes.
land.
From our
Yes,
land,
yes.
They said before that Egypt got a land to feed the world,
Yeah,
which is correct.
we have. Yeah,
Which is correct.
we have the
Yes.
atmosphere. We have the
Everything.
location. We have the land. We have everything.
I told
yeah.
you we are really rich. We are
Yeah.
not poor, but we have to use it right.
The managing of our resources.
And we
This
also
is
have
the-
black gold.
Yeah, black gold. Yeah, but I think it's
gas?
enough.
A lot of it?
We have a lot of gas. Yeah,
We have a lot of things,
yeah,
but I think the problem is not for what we have,
Yeah.
but the problem is
Managing?
with ourselves.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
The problem is with the people.
Yes.
I recognized, and I have been talking with a lot of people, and I don't know what happened. There is something has been changed. The people got to work professionally, and they got to do their work well, which they don't in the moment. And we have to control that.
Yeah.
And the main point will be regarding the people. We faced yesterday a very opposite two cases. I see yesterday a motorcycle driver, which talk about his disaster in the life. And in the other side, we see a 12 soldier in our army died in Sinai. People living in area, and our army and political leadership is living in other area. We don't think with the right way. Like we find all people became an expert in economy, and we talk economy, political. People talk in everything now, and maybe they do the same as expert more than the political leaders.
Yeah.
This is the problem. If you put your mouse talk in everything, this will affect in our economy.
No, but more is like, they tell you, I know someone, and this is a sure source that told me so and so. I was like, who's that someone? I know this, and I do have, the proof. What proof are you talking about? You hear that, which is really ridiculous. You hear lots of people talking and saying, for example, yesterday I saw, it's like the judges, wages, and salaries are just hiking, and they give them more. So one of the people answering is an ex-officer, actually a lieutenant general, and he told him, give me papers of that, our salaries, actually, pensions have not hiked as you're talking about. How can you prove it? You're talking about this, I assure you nothing of that happened, and we don't have increase in this, not more than 350 pounds that increase. So we are sure of this, and then you find all, certain young people repeating, as if, they just, and they just cut and paste, and they just put it, everywhere, it's like, seems to be like they're just, is it on purpose, or they're just, You
mean the roaming?
Rooming,
yes,
rooming
yes,
around?
Exactly.
Mouse talk rooming, it's also a disaster for the country.
Yeah.
Everywhere. We not talk. We, like you said, we are a powerful country. We have everything. We have all the resources. We have a human resources. We have a huge number of human resources. People is looking for us. We are a powerful human resource
I was really
astonished
and admired with the last speech of the president about the powerful and about that we have to take our decision without any push-up from anybody else.
Because we are a powerful country. We have the army. We had a powerful army, and now he's the only one stand in the East or in the Arab countries.
Well, I mean, I agree with you, but
and this is also affecting in our international community and treatment with the people.
Of course, I agree with you. But in the moment we are talking about the development in Egypt, if I take the subject to in a good way, I am satisfied about the infrastructures projects which has been done since 2 years.
Yeah, of course.
There is a big project has been done, and still, and it has changed Egypt. And I think these projects and infrastructures projects that doesn't take a place in Egypt since 30 years.
People don't have this much patience. People, this is a problem. This is also a problem.
We'll talk about this, exactly the patients and the projects that have been done. We have online Dr. Bassam Fahmy, Member of Parliament. Hello, madam.
Yes, how are you?
How are you?
I'm fine.
Well, we'd like to ask you about what we're talking about with development and the projects that have been taking place. Yet, some people are not patient, and they're just in the middle. They just take as excuses floating the pound, the price of the dollar, and so on. What have you got to say about that?
First of all, we need to understand, to read clearly the situation. Nobody can deny we are in a very critical situation. And if people cannot see that, that's a big problem. Not only us, it's the whole region. We are in a war situation. We cannot deny that. We see it every day. The whole world as well, since 2008, is unstable. And it has affected seriously the international trade. This was seen clearly in Suez Canal. It's not a matter that Egyptians are impatient. Egyptians are patient, but the problem is that you don't explain to them the situation in a clear manner.
You mean transparency?
It's not transparency. It's people talk to them as if nothing is there. The price of the food or whatever, the price of meat is high, we're going to get it down. The sugar is not, I don't know what, we're going to. And you watch on the other side, people dying every day. People dying in the Sinai Peninsula, people dying in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Libya, in Sudan. How come the Egyptians cannot see that? When you see this, you see that you are in a critical situation. And then obviously you will find a problem in your budget, you'll find problem in the earnings in foreign currency. This is normal. But denying all the time and playing as if nothing is there, we're going to solve it tomorrow, and then you say why they are impatient. They are impatient because you are promising promises you cannot really achieve. We need to talk to the people in a clear manner. This is the first time this morning I heard the Prime Minister saying we're going to take necessary steps because we are in a war situation. I said, finally, they said people need to understand. Why all those young people who are dying in Sinai, who are dying wherever in Egypt. So I think the problem is that we need to talk to the people frankly.
Yes.
We need to tell them that getting out of the problem is not very difficult, but it could take some time. Everybody has to take part of it. We have to protect the poor and the middle class while we are doing this, because this is a class they cannot tolerate.
Okay,
On the other hand, we need to take other steps. We need to increase taxes on the rich. We need to impose taxes on the stock market. The government has to present a budget whereby they're going to decrease their spending by 20-30%. Saudi Arabia has
Dr.
done that.
Bassam Fahmy, there is a question here from our guest, Dr. Abbas Zouhari.
You would like to talk to the Egyptian and inform them about the infrastructure project which has been done since 2 years. But what is important for each Egyptian on the street? Is the food or the projects what the country are busy with?
If you are going to build an economy, you have to have a strong infrastructure.
All right. And that's what...
if people do not understand that, it is their own problem. I left and I traveled all over the world. Having a strong infrastructure is the base of any economy. It's not the sugar, nor the rice, nor the price of the meat. It's having strong roads, it's having good energy, is having railways, is having new cities, is having places where people living in slums can live decently. This is how you build an economy. You don't build it by decreasing the price of the rice.
But this is what the government are busy with in the moment.
I am sorry to say that, because when people listen to educated people like yourself, and then you say, why do we need infrastructure? With all my respect, I am surprised to what you say. We need infrastructure because we want to build an economy. We don't want to have an economy built on bidding and on lands and going in and out of the stock market, and that's it. You need to have agriculture, you need to have fishing, you need to have industries, and you cannot do that without infrastructure.
Dr. Bassam, this is what the government are busy with since 2 years, very hard, to build the infrastructure in Egypt.
It will take 10 years, not 2 years.
But the most Egyptian does not see that. Every Egyptian complain about...
They cannot see the infrastructure. When you have a building, when you live in a building, you don't see what is below the ground. But you cannot build the building without having this infrastructure. I am surprised how people are still discussing that issue. How can you build an economy without infrastructure? You tell me.
Well, what you said is right, but don't you have recognized the last time that the government are busy and with the infrastructure in Egypt?
What is it, what?
I mean, we have realized since 2 years that the government and the president very busy with the building of the infrastructure in Egypt. Did you recognize that?
Of course.
All right,
and it will take few years as well in the future.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure. I want you to compare the infrastructure we have in our country and the infrastructure in countries where you want to build an economy.
Well,
we need to go on infrastructure.
Okay.
So you don't want me to convince that I have to satisfy the food and eat and drink before building an infrastructure. I'm sorry, I cannot accept that argument.
We just stand up after the revolution. Dr. Bassam, we also we just stand up for 5 years.
I can't hear you.
Did you hear me like this?
Dr. Mahmoud Abbasi said we just came out of
revolution.
Revolution, actually 5 years, you know, which is...
and of course, we need patience from the people.
Yes.
we're still in the beginning of building a
Not
new
only
economy.
that, you are in a state of war.
Yeah, of course, yeah, you are right, doctor. We are in the middle of war. So that is what we say. We need the people to know this and to wait until we be more power to looking for other resources or other stand.
No, just a minute. I'm not saying this. I agree with you. But when people like you goes to the media and talk to the modest person and tell him, what do we need the infrastructure for? We need to decrease the price of the rice and sugar. What do you expect from a modest person who doesn't know, and he listens to highly educated people who cannot tell him that this is important? When you build an economy, you need infrastructure. We cannot continue on debating this. This is A, B, C in economies.
This is an awareness from the people also. Citizens.
An awareness because we give them wrong information.
Yeah, but to be clear and open, there is a lot of cases we cannot open. Like President always come and try to be honest with us, but there is some things and a lot of cases and subject we cannot go deep in the secrets of political also. Economy also need to have a patience of people to wait for the country to stand up again.
When you want to build an economy, everybody participates.
Yeah, must united all the efforts. We must unite all our efforts. Yeah.
Exactly.
Dr. Bassent, Fahmy, thank you very much for being with us. We go for a short break, after which we'll be back again. Stay tuned to us, don't go away. We're proceeding with our show. Well, back again to our show. Your comments, sir? Any comments?
No, I mean, there is a positive point and a negative point as well in the discussion. The positive point is about the infrastructure, which is correct. Yeah. And we must compromise, or we must compromise with other countries. I mean, we are not ready yet like other countries. We cannot say we have to compare us with the States. We can compare us with Russia. We can compare us with Europe. We are not ready for that. We just start. And we are really glad that the president and the government start since 2 years with building all this. I mean, we have a lot of problem with electricity and with water, with everything.
We still have standards also.
And we had a big problem with the roads, and now, and also with the housing.
Yes.
And then if I see how many building has been built in 2 years for places which was really miserable.
Well, we're talking, we had before, like those people responsible for the buildings and loans, all, of Asmarat and Ghit Al Ainab. And of course, they do have also, some people, yes,
in Alexandria.
In Alexandria. And they just, they come and, some of them, for example, are used to, now this time they're making them pay something because some would sell the apartments and then go back and sit in the streets, no problem. So, there are problems in that, and then, you got someone totally ignorant or maybe paid, or, because when someone tells you, we are cousins of Somalia, how come, you've got, look at the things, we have, and some people are, like, when you say, look at that, they say, apologetic, why do you apologize? We don't apologize, we just say, look at what has been achieved, as you said, in those years.
We achieved a lot of things.
Exactly, achieved a lot, and then some people coming and trying to destroy all that in words and in order to spread rumors, as you said, spreading rumors.
But we still want to know why we achieved this point of not understanding. I think there is a lot of root causes of the situation. Even economy or other by administrator or people. Our citizen and our human resource power, it's not educated well, and it's not also trained well to face.
Even that.
Yeah, to face our problems. We are not ready also as a knowledge.
Okay,
to face and or to understand even and economy disaster if we have.
Oh, okay, I give you an example. You are well educated, and on the street you meet a man. He's not well educated, but he know a lot of experience about life.
One from 10.
No,
like,
I'm just talking about Namal.
Yeah.
How are you going to communicate with this man? Are you going to communicate with him
high level
or in his level?
You have to go to his level.
All right. The second point is, which is more important.
You have to work to train him or train him or educate him to be in other level.
Okay, you have to help
to
him.
move him, help him.
Okay.
Yes.
The second point, which is more important, is I'm talking about our media.
Yes.
I'm talking about our media. Our media got to do the same way as you do with the simple man on the street, and to let him understand what you said.
The situation.
You cannot talk on the one level with every Egyptian. It's impossible. They are not all well educated.
But we have a problem here, Doctor. I'm sorry for that. We have a problem here also that now we are divided. If you talk about the economy, academic way, how to stand and or how to move or organize, people think that you are with the government, and if you talk in other way, people think you are with the president. If you talk like in other way, you are with the brotherhood. If you talk, we are divided. No. We have to unite it as Egyptian first.
I don't agree with you,
This is
Doctor.
a very also I think
I don't agree with you because normally you got to be honest in your meaning.
Yeah.
And when you are honest and you say what you know, do not care about...
From heart to heart, as they say.
Exactly.
Do not care about who understands it in his way or the other way. No, you have to be honest in your... If you are satisfied about the way that the government do, you just have to say it. Yeah. I'm satisfied because they do this and this. But you have to get evidence. And do not say, oh, they are perfect. How he knows that?
All the educated people in Egypt is understand, and they understand what the government do. Even have some missed of the government. The political leadership is have a vision, and we have to help this vision if we see that that is true or going to be a good future for us.
Well, I have to
we have to support.
Okay, I have to surprise you because you said that all the educated people understand how the government works.
No, 70%.
It's not correct because a lot of high educated people are very negative. I give you an example of the Suez Canal project, which is perfect for the future.
But result will not be now.
I know, but they said, why now? Why now? Yeah. We could have used this money to arrange some, to feed the people. We could have used this money to build something. There is building, there is projects, there is infrastructure.
This is infrastructure.
Everything is going on the agenda.
And result will come later on. We have to wait for result if we are work. Yeah, you wait 1 month to get your salary.
Yeah, but a lot has been done. But then the problem is, you know, is that, as you said, negative. Some people are negative, and they just don't.
Yeah,
they just, you know, refuse to accept that there are things done, and they say, well, what about the sugar? Well, sugar. There was wood. There was a problem.
This is a very limited.
Exactly.
Idea.
What is this?
Well, I wish that the kilo sugar will be 20 pounds because
in
Egypt,
1967 we face rice, sugar. Oil, everything
I mean, we have a very bad habit in Egypt. Sugar is white poison.
White poison. Like salt also.
Because if you know the quantity what Egyptians use for sugar, it's impossible.
But anyway, we need sugar
for 3 countries.
We cannot say to people stop eating sugar. But,
no,
we say we need sugar, we need this, but we have to suffer a little, and during the work. During our doing our good things in the time and with the right way, we have to wait. Like money is a word, is a reward.
You know what's more important?
Yeah,
the safety.
Well, yeah, of course, stability is
two years before we looking for a gas and electricity and
some
water.
Some people forget that.
And
they just think of something else. You know, this is not. We need the sugar. You know.
What Egyptians need to do.
Yeah.
To be satisfied about the safety of Egypt. Look around.
Yeah.
Look around.
We have here Sudanese, Syrian. We have a lot of other nationality living here, and they feel with something we as Egyptian we cannot feel it. You know they feel a safety here.
Yeah.
And he came,
we go to Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, and then we'll come back again to our talk. The Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, Secretary General of the Investors Union, Arab Investors Union. Welcome, sir, again with us here.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Sir, talking about the problem, of people talking about the floating of Egyptian pounds and prices in Egypt right now, the pound and being bailed out by the IMF loan. How do you see the situation?
I see that we have some problems and we have to convince ourselves to face these problems,
yes,
whether by ourselves or with the help of other friends, whether the IMF or some other countries also. The problems are that we export less than before, we work less than before,
yes,
we have a huge budget deficit. What are we going to do about these three elements? Budget deficit, we should increase the revenues, we should stop or make our expenditure less and less. We are doing that. We are doing that by establishing the value-added tax now,
yes,
that we are minimizing the subsidies, not for the poor classes, but the subsidies for the oil, for the energy, which is consuming 2/3 of the subsidy. Coming to another problem, which is the going down of our exports. It should be faced by work more in order to export more. We reached 31 billion pounds in 2012. Coming to the devaluation of the Egyptian pound, or the problem of the exchange rate.
Yes.
Can we continue selling the dollar for unnormal price?
Yes.
The disaster or the biggest crisis in Asia in 1997 happened because of that.
Yes.
That they insist to fix the exchange rate and selling the dollar for unreasonable rates until they lost their they lost all their reserves. Now we don't want to repeat this in our country at all.
Yes. Yes.
So we have to come to a sort of a balanced rate of exchange based on the market activity, not based on that we want just to support the Egyptian pound. Dr. Ahmed Galal, the former Minister of Finance, said that we lost $21 billion in the last 5 years just to support the value, the unreal value of the Egyptian pound. So let us do it. We did it before during the government of Dr. Atif Siddi. Many countries did that. I remember that not very long time ago,
Mr. Ambassador,
the Russian ruble was
Mr. Ambassador, there's a question here.
Mr. Ambassador, did you think that we are ready to meet the requirement of IMF now in this amount? Our economy is ready for this much conditions?
Ignore the IMF. You have a budget deficit. What are you going to do about it?
So you ignore all the loan that we don't need it, or we? Because I'm not understanding. I'm sorry.
If you can do it without the IMF, do it. How can you get to a balanced rate of exchange?
Of exchange rate, yeah.
Do it yourself without exaggeration. But now we have a good offer that this IMF, which we are one of the owners, by the way, is repeating a successful experiment with Egypt, which happened in the 90s, where we adopted a policy, economic reform policy, which is a good success story.
But I
everywhere
think,
they
Mr.
talk
Ambassador,
about. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to do it again or not? If you can do it yourself, do it yourself. But you can do it. If you can do it yourself, it's much better to do it with $21 billion in Europe in order to make sure that you can face any gambling against the Egyptian pound.
Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, Secretary General of the Arab Investors Union, thank you very much for being with us. And one final word, sir, before we...
Well, I mean, we have talking about a very important point, and I hope that the responsibles are hearing us, and that we can put hand in hand as Egyptian to
especially in this very difficult time of
eat
war.
less and
Yes.
work more,
Yes.
Yeah.
and to talk less, and to be satisfied about the safety of our country, and God help the satisfaction of the people.
Yes.
That's what I would like to end this conversation.
Yeah.
And of course, it's my pleasure to be here with you.
It's our pleasure.
And I hope our advices will follow.
Dr. Mahmoud?
Yeah, actually, I want to say that in these days we are in a stable. If people say yes or no, we are really in a good condition.
Yeah. To be able to just talk like that.
Yeah, and
say whatever we like.
we need only to united all our effort.
Yes.
We need to united ourselves
Yes.
and start to work. We need to change. We need to start a huge, completely change to the positive way.
Dr. Mahmoud Abbasi, thank you very much for
Thank
being
you
with us.
so much.
Dr. Abbas Zaghari, thank you very much for being
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank
You honored us with your presence, as well as our guests on the phone, of course, and our viewers. Thank you very much for being there. We'll see you again next week. As for now, I leave the ground for my colleague Nermeen Abdelrahman with the rest, with the latest actually in the stock market. God bless our Egypt. God bless our Egyptian people, our Egyptian army, and our president. I'm Nermeen Nazim signing off, and now to Nermeen Abdelrahman.
After 6 months, the International Monetary Fund will review the reforms made by the Egyptian government before making available the second tranche of the $12 billion loan. IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde said the IMF needs to evaluate the economic reforms of the Egyptian government. Lagarde noted that once the Egyptian government completes the required procedures, such as reforming subsidies and applying the value-added tax, the executive board will meet to approve the second tranche of the loan. Lagarde hopes that the Egyptian government will take the steps necessary in order to receive the next portion of the loan. The Egyptian exchange is forecast to test the 8,150 zone, maintaining the upwardly sideways movement in the midterm. The market's index is likely to decline forward toward 8,150 to 8,060 before testing the key resistance one more time. The 8,257, 8,280 zone has become the new central focus of the benchmark index EGF30, which will decide whether the index will test higher level or deliver a jittery performance with bearish view. The EGX30 lost 131.23 points or 1.57% to close at 8,232.77 points. Egypt's Consumer Price Index, CPI, which covers urban consumer only, annually increased to 14.6% during September 2016. On a monthly basis, the CPI added 1.3% or 197.4 points in September as compared to August figures. Egypt's central bank kept the pound steady at 8.78 pounds to the dollar at an official foreign currency auction on Tuesday at its regular forex auction. Egypt faces a shortage in hard currencies since the 2011 uprising relies heavily on imports, particularly food. The dollar's rate at the parallel market currently ranges between 13.35 to 13.5 Egyptian pounds. The Egyptian Minister of Supply and Internal Trading said that the country's sugar reserves meet the local demand until February. The minister said that 420,000 tons of imported sugar were contracted to arrive in the current month. The Egyptian government signed a consultation contract with Japan International Cooperation Agency to supervise the first phase of the fourth line of Cairo Metro. The fourth line will ride the Egyptian capital's subway capacity to more than 10 million passengers every day to represent 50% of total commutes. The new 43-kilometer line will link 6 of October City, the southwest of the Egyptian capital, with the first settlement of New Cairo. The Egyptian Ministry of Oil spokesperson said that Egyptian General Petroleum Corporation did not receive an official letter from Saudi Arabian oil company Aramco regarding suspending the delivery of the agreed oil shipments. Egypt has not received October allocations of petroleum from Saudi Arabia, despite a previous agreement to provide Egypt with 700,000 tons of refined oil products per month for 5 years under a $23 billion deal between Saudi Aramco and Egypt. World Bank Vice President Hafiz Ghanem said World Bank will sign a financing agreement worth $500 million with Egypt to support the Upper Egypt Local Development Program. The agreement will be signed on the sidelines of the World Bank annual meeting scheduled to be held in Washington, which will focus on Qina and Sohag governorates and on delivering services to lagging regions, providing youth and women with job opportunities and improving infrastructure. India's central bank has sought to be heard on the battle underway in the Delhi High Court between Tata Sons Limited and its estranged partner NTT Docomo Incorporation. NTT Docomo is seeking to enforce London Court of International Arbitration order, asking Tata Sons to pay $1.17 billion for failing to uphold a contract. The Indian company says it cannot pay due to the nation's foreign exchange rules, which are overseen by the central bank. The court asked the Reserve Bank of India to make an application if it wants to be heard on the case. Brazilian companies such as Embraer SA and Marco Polo SA are scrambling to close multi-billion-dollar deals to sell planes and buses to Iran, seeking to navigate remaining U.S. financial sanctions. The plane maker is in advanced negotiations to sell at least 20 E-195 jets with a total list price of more than $1 billion US, while the bus manufacturer is in talks to supply part of the 27,000 units Tehran is seeking. The problem is that Brazilian banks are reluctant to deal with Iran for fear of penalties by the US, even after Washington lifted restrictions on non-US banks. Business and government officials say Brazil must try harder to find alternatives, such as using smaller European banks that do not operate in the United States of America. The World Bank has called for a fresh drive to tackle inequality after warning that the gap between rich and poor risks thwarting its ambition of eliminating extreme poverty by the year 2030. Ahead of its annual meeting with the IMF Washington, D.C. this week, the bank said that the number of people living on less than $1.9 a day, the accepted benchmark of extreme poverty, had continued to fall despite the sluggishness of the global economy in the years after the financial crisis. In the first edition of a new annual study, Poverty and Shared Prosperity, which will track trends in global poverty.